Hello and welcome to today's video, a review of the Yosuda Indoor Cycling Bike. A bike I bought 1 year ago for $353, and I'm finally getting around to review it. Welcome to the channel that covers everything where health and technology meet. And let's kick it off by just talking about assembling this thing, because that's the first thing you're going to have to do. It comes in a box, you take it out, remove the styrofoam, do all those things, get your pieces together, and then you put it together. And there's only a few steps. It's really not a big deal. And to be honest, this was one of the easier bikes I've assembled out of all of them that I've done. Part of that's because there's no big monitor to attach, so you don't have to worry about that step. But overall, this bike is just smaller and lighter than the other bikes. And the hardest part is usually putting the crossbars on, because you have to lift up the bike a little bit, put those under in the right position, put the bolts through. And this thing's so small and light, it's easy to maneuver. So putting it together was a breeze. I think just about anybody's gonna be able to do this. And in terms of pros and cons, I think the fact that this is smaller and lighter is a pro for a lot of people. It's gonna be easy to maneuver around your house, easy to assemble. That's a nice thing for a lot of people. They're looking for some entry level that's not just gonna take over their house or not be able to be moved around. So that's good. But what's another pro? Well, surprisingly, considering it is smaller and lighter, I would think maybe it wouldn't handle me as well as some of the bigger bikes. At 225 pounds and 6'3", I thought maybe I'd wobble on this, or I could just tell I had a little bit less spike under me, but this thing was remarkably stable. It has stabilizers in all four corners, so I made sure I adjusted each one of those so it was touching the floor and it balanced well. And once I got on this, I was able to ride away, feel comfortable, fit in the frame, so at 6'3", no big deal, but also being tall enough there and a lot of weight moving around, it held me really well. So I think this is gonna be able to support a lot of people if you have concerns about size. I think I'm just gonna knock all the pros out of the way first, then move on to the cons, so stay tuned for that. But another pro is the fact that it has a little console up there, which provides basic information. It's nothing special, but things like distance, speed, and different metrics like that are available to help motivate you or give you goals during your ride. It also has a tablet holder, so you'll be able to hook up an iPad or an Android device, and if you want to follow along with something like the Peloton digital app, you'll be able to use that content for a motivational tool, and maybe use the metrics a little bit to follow along and kind of tie those together. I don't think it'll be a perfect match, but it's something you could kind of do if you wanted to. And we'll wrap up the pro section with two final items. And the first one is the seat. I was very impressed with the seat on this. It's got the cutout in the middle, so it's made to fit you well, but it has a lot of cushion. So it's just very comfortable to be on. So I think this is a seat that maybe if you're new to this, you're getting up there in age a little bit, very, very wise, or maybe just you're a little overweight, or just anything that might make it where you don't want to jump right into one of those smaller, harder seats, because that can be really uncomfortable if you're not prepared for that or not necessarily in a condition to start riding like that a lot. And to have a little bit more supportive, thicker, well-cushioned seat can really go a long way to helping you stick to it when you're first getting started on this. So that was very nice. And to wrap it up, the price. You know how much some of these bikes can cost, upwards of $2,500. So if that's not what you want, you're like, just give me something simple, but still gets the job done, doesn't break the bank, at probably roughly low to mid $300, you're getting a lot of bike without really hurting to make that bad. So a great option at a great price as far as what you're gonna get for what you spend. So as far as the cons go, I'm gonna start off with the resistance on this. It uses a friction resistance, meaning some pushes against that flywheel to slow it down or provide resistance instead of magnetic resistance like a lot of bikes use. It's not terrible, and it's kind of what you'd expect at this price point, but it's not as smooth as you expect on other bikes, or at least magnetic resistance bikes. And it doesn't offer the same top end resistance, but for most people and what they're expecting to get out of a bike at this price point, I think it's actually gonna work pretty well. At that lower resistance or lower speeds, it does a very good job. And then as you build up speed, it still does a good job. It's just once you start to really dial in higher resistances that the feel isn't quite the same. And there are other options that are nicer, but it still more than gets the job done, still gives you great exercise, and that's really what the goal is. And it's still very good for the price point we're talking about. And the other thing I noticed is the very top end resistance. So if you're trying to dial it up, you just want the bike to really challenge you. You have to really work or fight for every pedal stroke, kind of thing, going up a really steep hill, you're just really pedaling hard. This bike doesn't really do that range well, or at least I didn't think it did. What happens is you're dialing it up, it's getting tougher and tougher, and it's working. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to, and then you kind of reach a point where it's like, you're either stopping, the resistance is so hard it just won't go, or you have to step back to the point where you're getting that mid-level resistance. But that really tough, like, you're gonna still work for it, it's still moving, you're still getting that rotation, it kind of just stops, so you don't have that range of the resistance band. Now, I don't think that's going to be a problem for most people and what they're expecting to get out of a bike at this price point. But if that is you and you're like, hey, I just want a bike that's really going to challenge me, I can really dial it up, maybe not the best option. And my last con, small, not a big deal, but is that resistance knob. It's really small, so it's just kind of you're dialing it like this. Most bikes have a big knob that's easy to grab because you're riding away, you want to reach down without barely paying attention. Just you know where it's at, muscle memory, and you turn it. Well, with this, you almost have to look down and really pay attention because it's so small and you have to dial it and try to make little adjustments. So I wish they just thrown a bigger knob on there. But let's wrap up this video and talk about who is this bike for. And I kind of touched about it when I talked about the seat. But I think it's for people that still want a quality exercise, but maybe don't need all the bells and whistles. You don't need the Peloton of the world. Just put me on a good bike, let me good exercise. It has a resistance, and I can do my own thing. I can do it my way. And then again, price point. You want to just keep it cheap. You want to kind of get something in your house, but you don't want to break the bank. You just want something that's going to give you that cardio, and this can do that. Again, people that are maybe a little bit elderly, people that are overweight and just starting their health journey and just want something that's simple, that's maybe your starting point. Maybe you might say, this is what I start with. I don't break the bank. I'm making sure I'm sticking to it, and maybe a Peloton or a Velocor or a Strider down the road for me. But I want to prove it to myself that I'm actually going to stick to it, and maybe that this is a type of exercise that I actually enjoy before I just go get into those expensive options. So it could be a great stepping stone bike to kind of see where you're at and make sure that you're going to be able to stick to it. To summarize this up, you're talking about a bike in the $300 price range, so you're not expecting the bike of bikes, but you are getting a bike considering what price it's at that does the job, that gives you good exercise, that's comfortable, that can fit a lot of body styles, and you won't be miserable on this bike. It's comfortable and you can do what you need to do. You could do a long workout and just watch a movie or watch a TV show or put something on your tablet or do a Peloton digital ride, but you can just do things your way. So it's a great bike for that. So I hope this helped you out. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to stay on top of everything where health and technology meet. Until next time, here's to a healthier you, and have a good one.